looking forward to this conversation because I just have to say that Thunderbolts is one of my favorite films that came out this year. And as somebody who's been a fan of like Marvel, I feel like it's one that kind of hit the most deeply for me. And so I wanted to let you know that. So I'm really excited to
Thank
see
you.
that
Yeah. Plus,
directing a lot more.
you got Neil up there. That was great. You
Yeah,
know.
I need a big Thunderbolt poster as well
No,
because I
no,
have
that's
small
fine.
one.
Neil, if you got Neil, we're good. We're good. Yeah.
So I'm really excited that you'll be, directing more. But I did want to ask you, like, what was your reaction to kind of seeing how the audience reacted to seeing that the Thunderbolts are now the new Avengers and that Val purchased Avengers Tower and everything that we kind of found out after the movie came out?
Yeah, I think all of the audience reactions are really fun. I mean, you're hoping for that, and you do small screenings, but to be in a big theater in London and have the kind of gasps at different times or the cheers when Bucky arrives or, like the response at the end, it's fun. I think one of the gifts of the process is that, like where our business is going, there aren't a ton of things that you can count on, just where the theatrical experience is such a huge part of what it is. And to get to watch movies with people and to have that initial life before it goes off into the world. And, obviously we watch things and I'm happy to have people watch the movie however they want to watch it. But I think it was really nice to have that communal experience as part of the initial rollout.
Thank you. Now, I don't know how much of this you can answer, but kind of what was it like working with the Russo brothers for that end credit scene? And like, what are your expectations for the new Avengers and the upcoming film and Doomsday and anything you're allowed to tease about that and just seeing all these teams come together?
I mean, I think I'm allowed because I don't know anything, so it's great. I'm just going to be a fan and watch. But yeah, I think Florence said it was like being dropped off at school by your parents, and you're like going, and the next grade you look back and you wave goodbye, and I had to like drop them off and send them off into this bigger world. But yeah, they were, they were great to work with, and just so open, and obviously like I wanted it to be whatever they needed it to be for their movie. And then there were a couple little things that, as far as tying up certain character arcs that we needed for our film. And so there's just kind of a discussion about that, but it's their scene that they directed and it's in their film. And so it just was kind of just fun to watch as a fan, like, again, watch these characters that you spent all this time with and to get to see them, in this kind of bigger world and bigger context was fun to watch. As a proud parent, you know.
Oh, that's really good to hear as a fan here too. But I want to touch on kind of the shame rooms for me. Like I have like really bad anxiety and sometimes they come into my dreams or just things that like happen. And I really liked how that was done on screen. And I know we saw most of like Bob and Yelena's shame rooms. And even though we know the stories of the other Thunderbolts and what they've been
Mm-hmm.
through, if we had kind of seen like more in-depth shame rooms, was there anything specific you wanted to show for like maybe like the other Thunderbolts' stories as well?
Yeah, I mean, we had a whole bunch of different versions and we would have loved to show those rooms. Just structurally, it ended up working out this way, like where it just made more sense to kind of go back through Bob's journey. I think that we had imagined seeing, at the orphanage with Ava, when she was younger. And I mean, all the Alexi ideas were fun, but I think there was a gulag scene with Alexi that was pretty fun. But we a lot of ideas got kicked around, but mostly like it just became once sort of it became clear that we were going to have to confront a version of the Void as a big bad. Then it really made sense to kind of exit through Bob's trajectory, and that kind of led us to the rooms that we ended up with.
I mean, if we ever get like the chance to see those, it would be amazing. Because I can't like stress how much I really love this movie. And when I left the theater, I really wanted more, and I was like, why is it over? And I know we're getting more, but it was one of my favorites.
Oh,
Um,
that's very kind.
so if you're allowed to say, I know with Thunderbolts, the main theme was like mental health. Are you able to share like what direction you would want to take X-Men in, or just your hopes? Nothing that's like happening, but your hopes for it.
I, Not yet. I mean, we've just started, and it's very exciting. But I think what I would say is that I think part of the opportunity and what I'm excited about is that it's just such like every version of it, is kind of so inherently interesting and complex. And I think that was something that was really fun to take on with Thunderbolts as a complex set of characters where you know so I think that the source material has such kind of both inherent complexity, but also inherent scope and scale. And to get to work at this level is such a gift and an opportunity that that's something I'm very excited about.
And then like how do you balance like I know there's a legacy with like both films when it comes to the comics and then past movies. How do you balance like honoring that and then also bringing it to like a new generation and passing it down to like other people who grow up and be viewers?
I guess I'm going to try to stay as general as I can here. I guess I would say that something that I think Kevin has always been great at is he loves the source material, and he also knows that you always have to bring something new to it. And he's great at encouraging a passion for both of those things.
And then what I really loved in Thunderbolts was like how emotion was evoked, like especially when it came to Bob and Sentry. Like I cried because there was moments that I really felt bad and I really felt like I felt him. And then obviously he has this darkness. How do you kind of convey that where you have the audience like, oh my God, he is a powerful villain, but also a hero, and you feel both bad and good for him. You feel both related to him, and you just like feel that emotion. I feel like this is probably one of the Marvel movies that has done it the best.
Thank you. I think for me, like, and again, I know Lewis has his own connection to the character. Like for me, um, I always had like a kind of, we had talked to Paul Jenkins, who created the character, and about how it was a parable for mental health. And I always had my own kind of understanding of the character, like based on a friend of mine, who had gone through, obviously not on a metaphysical scale, but, similar issues. And I think that, we always talked about it as more a kind of balance between hubris and despair as opposed to good and evil, and all of the things were interconnected, that it was the kind of that, like when you read the first Sentry comic, you do really feel this kind of odd hubris in the Sentry. It doesn't just feel like a good guy, it feels like everyone around him, like there's an ego to it that concerns people. And so for me, like it felt like when that ego is expressed, like, too far, that in a way that's the thing that brings in the void underneath, as opposed to it just being a kind of like a push and pull between the two, that like it's about learning how to try to operate somewhere closer to the center and just being able to be Bob, but that's such a hard thing for him to do, and maybe the kind of thing that you can only do through connection to others. So that was always how we kind of tried to think about the character.
And I think that's why it spoke out so well to so many people who've maybe dealt with like things in their life and the darkness that kind of can sometimes take over. And I think that's what makes the movie special. On a lighter note, in your opinion, who's more powerful, Sentry or Superman?
Oh man, I guess I would say, I don't want to wade in any beefs here. I guess I would just say it's just the kryptonite is different.
Yeah.
That's what I would say, and I think that's what makes it. That's what makes Bob so interesting.
That's the perfect answer. My final question is, I know Kevin recently said that like in the future, a lot of like legacy characters will be recast. In general, in film, when you approach roles that have had such a figure that everybody like known and loved, what is your approach to like who should take on that role in the future? Because, fans are could be divided, and no matter how much you love something, there's always going to be someone that's like, kind of stuck on what they know. And for me personally, I mean, I love seeing new iterations of everything because I think it's exciting and other generations get to experience it in their own way. But what's your like general take on it in any film?
Um, I guess what I would say is like I just feel so lucky to have worked with some of like the best actors on earth, in this movie and in other things that I've gotten to work on. And Sarah Finn is one of the best to ever do it as a casting director. And I think that, great actors are great actors. And if you have someone great who like really embodies the role, then, it's not that you're trying to make people forget. You just want to introduce them to a new version that they come to love and care about. And if you get those things right, then I think, you know, uh, yeah, then that it becomes its own thing.
I agree. And we've seen it work with like James Bond. Obviously, there's the ones that we, grew up watching and are like iconic, but it's done very successful and it has new generations watching it. And I think that's how it should be done. This has been so fun. My nerd has been like really happy.
Great. All right, we'll take it. Nerd it out. Yeah.
So I really appreciate it and thank you so much for your time. And I'm so excited to see all of your work in the future. And thank you for everything. And thank you for Thunderbolts. I just wanted to let you know that too. So
I'm so glad that you liked it and that it resonated with you. I appreciate it.